So Weijia Jiang joins us now. And Weijia, earlier you spoke to Press Secretary Sarah Sanders about the president's possible proposal. You asked her a direct question about that. Let's hear what she had to say.
Look, there are a number of legal scholars that think that there is certainly a lot of ground, but the big issue here that you have to look at is the reason we're in this position in the first place, and that's because Democrats in Congress have failed to help fix our broken immigration system, and the president is looking at all options, and he'll make a decision ultimately about what's best to secure our border and to maintain law and order in our country. The president's been talking about ways to fix our broken immigration system, not just since he became president, but long before. If you haven't heard him say and talk about fixing the system, then you just haven't been paying attention.
Okay, so Weijia, we understand the president has been talking about fixing the immigration system, and in fact, he's talked about birthright citizenship since 2015. Still, this was not a topic that was maybe at the top of the list of things to talk about. When it came to immigration, he was really hammering away about the caravan more than anything else. And so it's left many people wondering, why are you bringing this up now? Right. I don't think there was a national sort of clamoring to deal with birthright citizenship. And oh yeah, we're a week away from the midterms.
Exactly. And that's what I asked Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, that, we understand that this was part of his overall immigration plan when he was just a candidate for president. But then, he did not make this an issue. We have not heard about this. We would certainly remember if it was a huge issue when Congress was considering those immigration bills that ultimately failed. And so the fact that he is rolling this out now, it's a very hardline stance, and he's claiming he can use his power, his authority, is new. But there was no direct answer to why he's doing that now, if it is not a political move. What we do know, what we've seen, is that President Trump himself has defined this election. He says this is the midterm election of Kavanaugh, caravan, and tax cuts. At recent rallies, he has not been celebrating his win, getting Justice Kavanaugh confirmed to the Supreme Court. He has not been talking about tax cuts. He has been solely focused on immigration. We have seen different proposals, and this is just the latest. And so when you look at the timing, for critics, they immediately suspect that it is to rally Republicans and get them to the polls, because we saw this work before. Immigration was such an important priority of his when he was running for president, and he's here.
Yeah, and it's not just folks who are suggesting that this is not doable. It's Kellyanne Conway, the counselor advisor to the president of the United States. Her husband, George Conway, along with Neil Patel, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post essentially saying that this idea that the president is floating is unconstitutional, and that frankly the president doesn't have the authority, even with an executive order, to change a constitutional amendment. He's also blaming, or at least Sarah Sanders is blaming, Democrats for failing to work with Republicans on immigration and therefore forcing him to propose this executive order. What are you hearing about that?
Well, I think we can look right at Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan. It's not just Democrats, right? It is the leader of the Republican Party in the House that is agreeing that executive power is not going to get this done, that it's not possible to use executive power. He said he believes in the Constitution and a direct translation of the text. And Ryan said it is very clear in this case what it says, which is if you are born on U.S. soil, you are a U.S. citizen. So here it's not the Democrats that are blocking the president's idea that he could get this done through Congress. Again, we have not heard him bring this up to be part of those immigration bills in Congress. Those have been focused on protection for dreamers, on securing the border, on the border wall. Those are issues that the Democrats do not agree with him about, and why ultimately those bills did not pass. But when it comes to this, again, because we are just now hearing him make it a big issue, they have not had that time to even talk about it because it wasn't there before. But it's difficult to blame the Democrats, right? Because it's not just Democrats who are saying this can't be done.
Weijia, the president also tweeting about the caravan. This is what he had to say, his latest tweet about the caravan. The caravans are made up of caravans, plural, because there are more than one now, made up of some very tough fighters and people, fought back hard and viciously against Mexico at northern border before breaking through. Mexican soldiers hurt, were unable or unwilling to stop caravan, should stop them before they reach our border, but won't. So here's the thing about the caravan. It's true. There were clashes at the border with Mexico and Guatemala, I believe, and there are more than one caravans now amassing, at least one more, perhaps a third. But when the president talks like this, I think one of the things that he does not bring up, obviously, is that the intent of those in the caravan are to come to the border and follow the law. Right?
I don't understand why you need.
I
don't understand why you need 5,000 U.S. soldiers to protect a border where people are approaching it from an asylum point of entry. In other words, they're going to apply for asylum to this country. It's either rejected, which means they have no legal right to be in the country, or it's accepted,
which
and they
is
can
the
come
law,
in.
Right? So we know that the latest news, Weijia, is that he's sending National Guardsmen down to the border. This caravan's not even going to be here at the border for like another month and a half. So what's the latest with the caravan? What's the plan with the National Guardsmen?
Right, and that is at the earliest, Anne-Marie. A month and a half is a really gracious estimate, because these caravans are hundreds of miles away, and it's not as though they have a straight shot. I mean, they are going to face challenges. They're going to take time to get here, and so by deploying these extra military personnel to the border, again, it is another example of President Trump, enforcing his hardline stance on immigration, and it is difficult to understand at times, because critics will say very quickly, this is costing a lot of taxpayer money, and you're sending this there, you're spending this money before the problem even surfaces, if it surfaces at all, because there is this assumption that they're just here to cause violence and to have the same sort of clashes at the border. And you make such an important point that many of these are people who are seeking asylum. But remember, President Trump has also floated the idea of using executive power to shut the border down altogether, even to asylum seekers. So that's yet another proposal that is drawing a lot of criticism, because people are saying, that's just illegal, and it's going to be challenged in court. So, again, the timing begs the question of why this is becoming such an issue now, why you're making these big decisions now, just less than a week before the midterms. Now, this is not actually a new issue for President Trump, right? He is the immigration candidate, or was. He is the president who has made this his platform, but it's just these new things that are drawing questions because of the timing.
So, Weijia, you're so right. I just want to correct myself. It's not National Guardsmen. It's actual active duty troops.
Correct,
over 5,000 of them that he's sending to the border.
And reminder
that
this
is in addition.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And I was going to say, and a reminder, under current U.S. law and the Constitution of the United States, U.S. troops cannot actively engage in any kind of police type enforcement. It's against the law.
Exactly. They're not going to be there apprehending illegal immigrants. They're going to be there supporting Border Patrol. So they'll be building barriers. They'll be supplying equipment. They'll be providing airlifts, for example, via helicopter and planes, to drop off those border protection agents to areas where they are needed the most. So they're really reinforcing and providing recon for those agents who are able to use, force to apprehend immigrants.
All right, Weijia, thank you very much. We always appreciate it.